Hello everyone, I am Paul Katzoff. Thank you for joining this webinar on automating your Layer 2 network mapping and configuration backups with UV Networks and UV Explorer. This is going to be a short 30-minute webinar. We're going to get directly into the UV Explorer solution and how it will work for your organization and the features within the software. So just a brief introduction, or as far as the agenda goes, we'll just do a brief introduction and then a visual instruction on the program. We'll jump through all the different components of UV Explorer and how that can be a fit for you on your network management side. As far as UV Explorer goes and UV Networks, the company, we've been providing UV Networks or UV Explorer for almost 8 years now, since 2015. And what we focus on is layer 2 discovery. So this is network visualization of switches, routers, phones, printers, you name it. UV Explorer is designed to discover it. And I'll give you a little bit of secret about UV Explorer, at least the back end side of it. Our development team actually built the network mapping solutions for Visio, for Altiris, and for WhatsUp Gold. So when you're using UV Explorer, you're actually using a full-featured tool that's going to go through and discover your network almost faster. I wouldn't say faster than all the other tools out there, but really fast as far as the discovery component goes, using your SNMP, SSH, and WMI credentials, Telnet, you name it. We use those credentials to discover all the devices on your network. Another thing that we do as well is we back up your configurations for your firewalls, routers, and your switches. So these backups will be saved into the UV Explorer program, and you can go through and look for change notifications as well, or for changes, and then we'll notify you of those changes. And I have to at least bring up our UV Explorer tool. We're not going to discuss this on this webinar, but UV Explorer Server is our roll-up or our central repository for all the UV Explorer agents. So let's say you have 10, 15 networks, or if you're an MSP, you can use UV Explorer agents on each of your network sites. They'll report back to UV Explorer, and it'll provide an on-premise web UI of all those networks for you to view, click through, and control and configure UV Explorer at each of those network sites. So very valuable tool, very easy to use. We'll get into the actual UV Explorer solution right now. Brian Kapp is joining us. Brian Kapp has over 20 years in the network mapping space, and he's going to take us through the UV Explorer solution.
So we're going to jump right into it. What you see here on the screen is our UV Explorer standalone or agent that you can run on any Windows environment that will connect to your IP network and be able to crawl around and find everything that's attached to the network. One of the key features of this product is it can do general IP discovery without any type of credentials, like any free tool on the internet. But our key focus is diving into the very specific details of each individual device and giving you an automated discovery that will map the layer 2 connections between the devices. Those connections are key when you start looking at the protocols, because we use SNMP to gather the network information to connect the devices. You can go into our protocol library and define the credentials you want to use to discover the network. We support SNMP v1, v2, v3. But along with that, we support other protocols like WMI, VMware, and SSH and Telnet, so that we can gather as much information as we need to build that automated map. Along with that, we allow you to define how you want to go about discovering your network. You can name your discovery scopes and tell us the method you like to go about discovering your network, whether it's just be a simple ping sweep or an ARP cache crawl or a quick scan, which will utilize just kind of network infrastructure sightings like CDP and LDP to kind of quickly jump around the network to find your network infrastructure. With every discovery scope you define, you can bind protocols to those discovery runs. This one right here actually binds both a SNMP credential along with an SSH and Telnet. And you can see here that I've indicated that during this discovery, I want to be able to capture the startup and running configurations of the network devices that we find. You can really fine tune the discovery settings that you have to include scopes, exclude scopes, so you see exactly the discovery results that you want, and also avoid any kind of areas of the network that may be sensitive or outside the scope of your discovery. You can use exclusion scopes and IP ranges, and also categories to say I may find things on this discovery run that I don't want to see, like IP phones or laptops. You may be just focused on the network infrastructure. And then you can kind of give us some more details about how fast you want the discovery to run, how many threads you want to involve, whether you want to do name resolution or use ping as a identification. You know, we can do brute force discovery or use ping to kind of identify the devices there and responding before we test anything from that specific discovery. Now, with those discovery settings in place, we can go ahead and do a manual discovery where you can identify the discovery scope that you want to utilize and then just go ahead and trigger that. You'd see, if we were to do that right now, we would see a responses here on this screen to tell you what devices we're discovering, how long it's been, and you know, a roll up of all the devices that we are finding on the network. But we're going to go ahead and skip ahead to the end result, because the way UV Explorer works is that every scan that you do is captured as a separate repository or document, is what we like to think of them as, so that we can identify differences between each individual scan. So every scan is a snapshot in time of what we found on the network, and then the next time you do it, you can also compare those results so you can see what devices were added or removed from the network and what network connections may have changed. So when I go up to the open dialog here and I want to find our latest discovery, I'm going to go ahead and just open that up, and you'll see the results as if we had done this discovery live and then opened the findings. Here on the left, we have a simple breakdown to categories. Obviously, these are general categories with all devices, all core devices, and all SNMP devices, kind of identifying everything that we found by name, IP address, MAC address, descriptions, and if we are able to talk SNMP to the device, you'll see things like SNMP OIDs and descriptions. As you click down through the categories, this list here on the right will filter based on, again, whether all core device to us is providing some kind of network function, routing, switching, access points, and so forth, including servers. All SNMP, pretty self-explanatory that the device was able to respond with SNMP, and we were able to gather important asset and inventory information from those devices. You'll see here across the bottom that we detail all the elements of that device, including, like, for example, if I click on this switch, I can see the system information, the IP addresses configured, the interfaces on that device and their names, their status, whether they're admin, operator status, including information related to their PoE status, bridge ports, and their VLAN mappings. And you can see here out to the right, one of the key features here is what devices are connected out that port. So out this port 1, we're going to see another switch that's connected. But it's not just network infrastructure that you'll see out these ports. You'll see everything from other network devices to access points or end stations and printers and so forth. Along with these tabs, you'll see asset and inventory. So we'll identify chassis, module, serial numbers, hardware, firmware, and software. Detail their links. Again, VLANs and what ports are connected in each VLAN, and including forwarding, CDP, and so forth. Now, we also identified in our previous discussion that I included SSH and Telnet, and with this, I actually get the startup and running configs of this device and when it was captured. I've actually run this discovery a number of times, and you can see that the initial capture and the last capture is here. But if you were to look at this, I've automatically captured the running config, and that running config is saved with the device context here within our repository for future reference. Now, to get to the key point of this is I'm looking at all these device lists. If I click down here at the bottom, I'm going to get a map. This map identifies the interlinks between all of these devices. And if I zoom in just a little bit, as I mouse around between these devices, you'll see these ports and how they're interconnected. So you'll see the exact ones. You can actually double click on these and you can see interface indexes and so forth, names and the connections between the devices. You can double click on the devices and see more details about them individually. Again, bridge ports and VLANs, interfaces, etc. So lots of details of what we were able to find through this simple scan, but the main focus here is on this is to see the mapping and the connections that you don't have to do manually anymore. That's automated for you. Now, we did this discovery as a manual discovery, but obviously we would like to run this discovery over time. And this is where scheduled discoveries come into play. You can take any discovery setting that you've created and put it on a schedule. You can come in here and create a name for it, set up how often you want that discovery to run. And you can also configure the idea that I want to send the email notifications about when this discovery is completed, and also notify me of changes or asset reports or connectivity reports. You can attach all those things to an email that is sent directly to you or other administrators on the network. When this discovery run finishes, you'll see that, like for example, this one, there are different types of discoveries. Like we have manual, raw, or roll-up. Raw and roll-up is that we can capture the discovery and when we ran it, and each time we run it, we have that snapshot, and it's recorded here in the database. But at the very end, we roll up all the discoveries over this network over time. One of the reasons for a roll-up is the idea that the devices come and go, especially end stations. Maybe at night when the discovery is running, a lot of your employees have taken their laptops home or just turned the machine off, and so obviously they're not connected to the network. We don't want to forget about those devices or what we've learned about them. Maybe the difference is between a few hours. We can actually move those devices forward so that we keep a comprehensive list of everything we found over the time of the network discoveries and keep that in our roll-up. So typically when you're looking at discovery results, you're going to be looking at the roll-ups if it's coming from a scheduled discovery, or you can look at anything that we've done manually just as a snapshot. Along with scheduled discoveries is here at the bottom, you can set it up so that you can capture the configurations directly to a file share. So you can go ahead and put a place on this device or a shared server where you can capture these device configurations, and you can create device subfolders or just only save changes. Again, after the discovery is completed, all the configurations that you've captured as part of the backup are put directly here on this file share so that you can see them later and know that you've captured not only the running and startup config within the product itself, so you can come in here at any time and look at those configs, but you also have those recorded to disk or on a safe file share where you can always use those to restore a device in case it goes down. With the events here inside these scheduled discovery, you also have the ability to get differences in configuration. For example, like if you were to go to these individual captures here, you can compare the running config over time, and you can see specifically here that we highlight what names have been changed here in those configurations. When the scheduled discovery runs and you actually ask for event notifications, you too will also get notifications for the configurations and how they've changed, so that you as administrator are always aware of what devices are on the network, how they're interconnected, and also any changes that might be going on behind the scenes. These configurations can also be monitored through what we call a config monitor. So you can actually create a monitor that actually just monitors just the startup and running config. So you don't actually have to do a configuration capture through a discovery process, but you can come in here and identify, maybe I want to just watch the running config for a set of devices by simply clicking here. I can select the devices that I want to watch those configs on. And then same type of operations, I can either save it to disk, create events to send that notification of changes to, and so forth. We do support different options for configuration capture, Telnet, SSH, and HTTP. And we also do support using TFTP servers to trigger configuration backups through SNMP triggers that will automatically download configurations to a TFTP server if that's a need or of interest to you. We kind of cover the whole gamut of things. At the end of our discovery, obviously we have these different views that you can see. We've shown you the device view, the map view. Along with those, we also have breakdowns of different types of views, like subnet views. So you can see all the devices that are in different subnets. You'll see a listing of all the subnets we were able to discover here on the left. You can jump into VLANs. So you can look at VLAN membership. So you can see all the devices that are participating in different VLANs and create your own reports based on VLAN membership. Wireless, we've been doing network discovery for a very long time, and we've obviously followed this network discovery through the whole process of physical networks wired, and then into the wireless infrastructure, then into virtual infrastructure, and now into cloud scenarios. These views here kind of articulate or break out just what we have as far as the wireless controllers, wireless APs, wireless clients. So you can kind of see the network from just a wireless infrastructure side and actually see maps. You can see from here at the top, you can see these lines kind of indicate association between a wireless controller and its wireless APs. This is a small network here on our lab, so it doesn't, dive into it too deep. But if you had a more complicated network like, Aruba, Ruckus, you name it, we've kind of covered all of these devices through the years, and so we can kind of give you the details of all those. Same thing goes for virtual. We can break down through VMware credentials or WMI. You can set up discoveries for your virtual environment, so virtual hosts, machines, and even the virtual switching. We can break those things down. Everything that you do within the environment is recorded in an event, whether it's discovery events, device events, connectivity events. All these things are tracked so that you can open them up and see what the product has been doing while you're away. You don't have to do everything manually. And also we provide a range of reports for you to go get the data out of the product or view it. Here on the left, we have asset and inventory, which will kind of detail all of your devices, IP addresses, MAC addresses, serial numbers, vendors, etc. Down here at the bottom, you have this print notion that can automatically print this to a document, but also this feature allows you to export this data to CSV, to spreadsheet, to PDF, anything like that. Here on the left, other reports, device connectivity. So if you wanted to just look and see what was connected to the 3560, you'll see all the connections, their ports, the devices on the other end. And again, you can look at it here or print it or export it for other details. Port details goes into can actually break down all your switch port utilization. So access points or switches and their ports and what's connected to them and their status. So you can do a switch port utilization report. Software installed, processes. Here's an interesting one, stale ports. As part of scheduled discoveries, you'll notice that you have this flag that says keep a stale port report. This stale port report keeps track of how many ports are down on a switch and how long they're down for. So if you ever get into the idea of replacing switches and you want to see ports available, you can come into this report, you can look at the different switches, and you can see this port right here, port 3, has been down for over 190 days or never been used. You can look at consolidating larger switches into smaller switches, or trying to figure out whether you maybe need to disable that port for compliance reasons. Jumping back here to the front, there's a lot of other details that we can do with UV Explorer. One, if you look at the tools, you can talk about layer 2 tracing. So if I wanted to determine a path across the network from one device to another, you can simply, oh, sorry, this is IPMAC Finder. Let's start with IPMAC Finder. So if you wanted to find any MAC address or IP across the network, you can go ahead and select it in here and say I find IP. This will tell you where who owns that IP address and where it's been seen. You can do things like if I wanted to say find this IP address, or particularly find this MAC address, I can find where that MAC address is being seen across the network at any given time. So you can see multiple connections here on this device and where it's being seen. You can track down where anything is on your network at any given time based on this IPMAC Finder. Layer 2 Trace will help you trace network connections. For example, if I want to look at this, you can see the path from this switch across these different ports. You can use tools to automatically check the status of those ports and the ping status. So it'll help you deal with figuring out how devices are connected and also how they're responding on the network, and do a kind of a quick and dirty root cause analysis. You can do tools to do start versus run comparisons. You can do manual triggering of device configuration captures. You can do DNS resolution if I just wanted to test a particular range of addresses on my network. I can simply do that, hit resolve, and it's going to run a quick process to kind of tell me everything that's connected to the network as far as DNS is concerned. There are other tools that we provide as far as just doing some quick ping tests, CPU load tests. If I wanted to, for example, go into this switch group and use my tools to do pull the devices, if I wanted to go ahead and start a ping for all of them, I can go ahead and check all their status right here. So I can see that all these devices are up and responding, and see if there's any troubles in a group of particular devices or across all devices. One of the things that we always like to emphasize here is that just because we've captured all this data within UV Explorer, we don't want to basically hold it hostage. We want to help you utilize this data through how you export it. You can export maps to either Lucidchart, PDF, SVG, and Visio. So like if I wanted to create a Visio document from this, this view right here, by me simply right-clicking, I can export that to Visio. You'll see not only do I get a map or a visual of these devices, but I get real data, names, IP addresses, serial numbers, everything like that. Documents that you can share with your team or place on a board that actually have some real content. But also, you know, we don't want to make you feel like you're stuck here. We have integration partners that we integrate our layer 2 mapping into other monitoring platforms like PRTG. If I wanted to go ahead and now help a user set up their monitoring environment with PRTG, I can simply export this to PRTG, and we'll automatically create the devices and create sensors on them so that they can be monitored long-term through a partner product like PRTG. We can do that from both device creation, mapping, and also just pushing the data over to them. So as Paul mentioned, one of the great elements of this agent that you see right here is that it can run standalone, or you can couple it with our server product, where we have, like if you, for example, when you go ahead and activate this product, you can tell us whether you want this to be standalone or if you want it to be connected to our server product. The server product allows you to provide a web console for allowing multiple users to use the data. Obviously, this is a single user type of interface here, but when you tie an agent to the server, it will it can be configured from the server, and also it posts all of its data up there so that you can see all the data in a consolidated interface where you can have users assigned to it, and they have different roles. And then you can also share that data with, even like an example of an MSP is you can actually create discoveries for them, but then share that data with the your customer directly without them having to have a full-fledged management system running on their environment. And with that, I think we're going to go back to, let's see, open back this up. And I think that kind of covers our demo for today. I'm going to turn the time back over to Paul, and maybe if he wants to take questions or not, or just finish up, we'll go to that point.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate that. As you guys can see, UV Explorer has a lot of features in it. If I was to roll through the different options we provide, from layer 2 discovery, let alone asset details, and we get into CDP forwarding, and then you guys saw layer 2 tracing, be able to ping that IP MAC finder, host name resolver. There's a lot of solutions here, features within UV Explorer, which will allow you as a network manager to easily diagnose issues within your network, which is why we're here. We're not going to take Q&A today. I have our contact details here on the screen. Send us an email or give me a call with your questions. We'll be happy to take you through it, show you how UV Explorer is going to be a good fit for you. We just want this webinar to be a short, quick, tasty treat on UV Explorer for you. And thank you for joining today, and we will hope to hear from you soon. Thank you.